Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's episode of Intuitive Angling. And man, I really appreciate you guys coming by the channel and spending some of your day with me. We are going to be talking about something I saw at the boat ramp yesterday that really, it's sort of a microcosm of a bigger issue, bigger problem we have about people they either don't know or they don't care about boat launch and boat ramp etiquette. And I sort of want to go over, some stuff. If you may or may not know exactly how to do it right, there's sort of like a procedure that you have to go through, and there's a lot of different scenarios, there's a lot of different things that happen at the boat ramp, and I sort of want to give you guys my opinion on how to do it after launching boats since the 1970s. Also, guys, quick reminder, guys, Tackle Warehouse has got a big Labor Day sale going on right now. If you guys are looking to stock up for some fall fishing, great time to do it. I'll put that Tackle Warehouse Labor Day link in the description of the video, as well as with my other Tackle Warehouse link for your fishing gear. And also, real quick, guys, anyone interested in booking an on-the-water lesson with me for this fall, just shoot me a private message on my Facebook page, Randy Blaukat Professional Angler, for details on that. So really appreciate that. Okay, guys, when I was up there yesterday, it's like this is one of the most common things that happens. It's like, most boat launches, they've got, parking lanes, that are, with yellow or orange stripes on it, just like a parking lot. And guys, this dude had pulled his boat in there and was literally taking up almost three spaces with it. It's like his trailer was hanging over halfway into another spot, and his truck was barely almost into a third spot over to the left. And I think when I saw this, it's like, did this guy just not give a crap, or did he not know any better about how to park? It's speculation on my part, but it made me want to do this video. And what I want to do is I want to go through from the time you pull into the boat ramp until the time you pull out, how you need to do it, the proper, respectful, professional way, how to deal with having a boat at the boat ramp. Okay, the first thing, guys, a lot of it has to do with how busy your ramp is, because, if you're on some, obscure boat ramp where hardly nobody uses, you can pretty much do what you want. Or say, for example, you're fishing in January and it's 20 degrees when you get to the ramp. There's not another boat in the parking lot. Yeah, you can skirt some of these, suggestions or rules I give you. But for the typical fishing day where you got other people using the ramp facility, especially on the weekend, if you fish on the weekend, this is sort of what you want to do. First of all, when you pull into the ramp area, you need to get your stuff ready out of the way. Now, most ramp areas have like a little pullover area that you can get into, or you can even pull into a slip. But pull over, get your tarp off, get your rods organized, get your straps off, get your everything undone, before you actually approach the ramp area. This is really critical to do that. It's like, I see so many people out there, and I think a lot of these people that I'm talking about here don't really know any better. And you guys have seen them too if you fish very long. They'll pull up to the ramp and they'll actually back the boat like down towards the water. Sometimes they'll stop 30, 40 foot from the water. Sometimes the trailer tires are in the water, and then they get out and they unload their truck and they do everything right at the ramp while other dudes are waiting. Guys, do not do that. I mean, that is like one of the most obvious amateuristic, I don't want to say rude, because when you're talking about things like this, I realize that some people, they may be new to fishing and they just may not know the ethics and the rules. So this is part of the video to help that. So make sure when you get to the ramp, get out of everybody's way, make sure your stuff is ready to go, so when you pull up to the ramp, you can get in and out as quick as possible. Okay, so let's assume you got everything squared away, you got everything going. Another thing that you want to do, guys, is before you go to a public launch facility, practice your backing skills. Practice your ability to back a boat down a boat ramp, because we've all seen some dude pull up to the boat ramp and he's all over the place. And this happens a lot with co-anglers and tournaments. They're going in at every angle. So if you don't have confidence in your skills back in the trailer, you want to go to some type of a ramp that doesn't have anyone on it and just practice your skills backing down. And another good thing that will really help you is try to use a combination of your mirrors and looking behind yourself and opening the door. There's a lot of different ways to back a trailer down depending upon what's comfortable with you. The easiest way to do it is to use your mirrors all the time. It's the most difficult, and it's the most easy once you get used to it. If you're not comfortable with that, you can turn around and do the same thing. A lot of people prefer that. But practice your skills in backing a trailer, because that's going to make you get in and out a lot quicker. You're not going to hold up the line. And it's sort of like driving skills. I mean, being able to parallel park or something. You should be able to do the same thing when you're backing the boat down. Now, once you get your boat down to the ramp, there's a lot of different scenarios that go with that. Depends if you're alone. Depends if you got somebody with you. Depends on who's with you or whatever. So if you've got two people in the boat that know a little bit about a truck and a boat, that's the ideal situation. One person in the truck, one person in the boat. You simply float the boat off, go park your truck. The other person picks you up at the dock. That's one scenario. Another scenario is if you're by yourself, what you want to do. And for me, there's two different ways to do this if you're by yourself. If you're fishing a tournament where it's super, super hectic and super, super busy and by yourself, it's pretty much accepted and okay just to float your boat off, not get out of the boat, float it off, make sure you got enough momentum where it pushes it out away from the ramp, and go park your truck, walk down there, ask somebody for a ride. This happens all the time in tournaments. It's sort of like everybody helping each other out. I've never, people shouldn't, complain if you need a ride to your boat if you ask politely. So that's one way to do it. The other way to do it is if you don't want to float your boat off, and a lot of people don't want to float your boat off, is before you back down to the ramp, undo the front of your strap on there. You don't want to have to back down to the ramp and get out of the truck and unstrap your boat. Unless you have ice or something, or if you make a super, super sudden stop, your boat is not going to fall off the trailer. Unless maybe you have wet runners on your trailer and the freaking ramp is super, super steep. 99% of the time, most ramps, if you unhook your tow strap at the top of the ramp when you're getting your tackle ready, you can slowly back in there and back your boat down. Keep your eye on your mirrors, back it down until you get into the water, and back it down far enough to where you barely see the boat move. And all you have to do is, it may slide back an inch or so. Once that boat slides back an inch or so, it's far enough into the water where you can get into the boat and you can start the motor and you can back the boat off the trailer. If you don't back it in far enough, say for example, you back it into the tires and you don't see any movement whatsoever, you can get in the boat and try to back it off and it won't back off. You're stuck on the trailer still because you're not far enough in. Then you got to get back in the truck and back it in again. So go very, very slow. Just creep. I'm talking very, very slow to the point where you see that boat just start moving about an inch. And then get in your boat. Depends upon the angle of the boat. You may have to get your feet wet. You may have to take your shoes off and wade out there. What I usually do, since I got a pickup, I don't have a camper shell on my pickup. I just jump up on the tire, jump in the back of my bed of the pickup truck and get in my boat by myself. That's the way I do it most of the time. But if you've got like a Suburban or a camper shell, you may just have to take your socks off and shoes, wade out to the trailer, get in the boat, back it off. Back it off, either pull it up to the bank. If you got power poles or something, you can beach it on the bank. If it's flat enough, put it on the boat dock, go back, go get your truck out of the way, and go find a parking spot. Now, this is another one. When we talk about finding a parking spot, guys, this is probably the biggest problem that we have at boat ramps that people do that don't pay attention. Stay in your lane with your boat and your trailer. It's like these ramps that get full, guys, there's not a lot of extra room with it. So when you pull up into a spot, make sure that your truck and your boat trailer both are in the center of those marked lanes. The worst thing that you can do, and probably the most common mistake that I see on a boat ramp, is somebody pulls into a parking spot and their trailer is that far over into the other dude's area. When you do that, you take up an entire parking spot because the boat and truck next to you cannot get into there. So you've literally, even if you're over 4 or 5 inches like that, even if like the back part of your trailer is over 4 or 5 inches, you've screwed the next guy from a parking spot there. So you have got to make sure you're perfectly centered in order to do that. And another thing, for a lot of guys out there that may be right on the edge, say for example, the part of your trailer tire is like maybe right on the yellow line or something like that, you're making yourself very susceptible to get your trailer hit by somebody else. I don't know how many times, guys, I make a concerted effort all the time to get my truck perfect in a parking spot. I don't know how many times that I've come back, probably a dozen times, where my dang trailer's skinned up. Some dude backed into my trailer that he was probably not squared away in his own spot there, and I got my wrap scuffed up, or I've got a light busted out of my trailer. It happens all the time. So I like to park. One of the things that I like to do for the most part, I like to park as far away from everybody else as I can. I don't even if there's a closed spot up there, I'll try to get out of the way, so I don't damage my deal there. So, that's just super important. And then when you come in the evening, the same type of deal, guys, go up and get your truck. When you back your truck in and everything, make sure that you got the best way to do it is your runners on your trailer. When you back your boat in the trailer, leave about that much of your runners out of the water and everything else in there. Now, a lot of this has to do with your ramp angle too. If you have a steep ramp angle or a flatter one, you may have to adjust a little bit more. But if you leave just 2 or 3 inches of your runners out of the water, usually your boat will go right up on the trailer and it'll hit the stop up there. If you have a steep ramp, you definitely want to put the boat on the trailer and go up and attach your winch to it, because what happens on a steep ramp is even if you push it up all the way, it'll back off 5 or 6 inches, and you got to put your strap on and crank it up on there. But if you're on a medium to flat slope and you get and you lock in there real good, you don't even have to if somebody's going to pull you out, you can just pull right out. You don't even have to strap your front, as long as you pull out slow. I mean, the problems I've seen is that somebody pulls out really fast. And then same thing is when you get to the top of the ramp, either pull back into a slip, get out of everybody's way, or pull out everybody's way. So it's just a matter of awareness and courtesy. That's all it is to it. And guys, I've seen a lot of arguments and, heated discussions at a ramp from guys that have, don't know what they're doing. And like I said, I try to give everybody the benefit of the doubt. And if somebody's done something wrong, I try to just say, well, maybe they just don't know any better. We all have to learn. We're all at different stages of our experience in fishing, and you can't assume all the time that everybody knows what's going on. So if you're an experienced angler and you see some guy making a mistake up there, don't go out there and ream him out, because he just may not know any better. Just go up there, and if you want to say something, just try to be polite about it, because most people are going to say, oh man, sorry about that, that's my bad, like there. Just don't be a dick at the boat ramp about somebody like that. And finally, guys, one other thing about boat ramps I'll tell you about is be careful. There's a bunch of freaking shady types and meth heads that hang out around boat ramps a lot of times. I've seen them. So don't leave anything in your truck. Don't pay attention to your surroundings. Have a really high sense of situational awareness, because there's a lot of crime that takes place at boat ramps, and there's been a lot of, there's been people shot, there's been people kidnapped, there's been a lot of problems. So, if you're at a launch ramp that is not where there's not a lot of people there, like it's a little bit more obscure ramp, be very aware of your surroundings, before you leave or you put anything in your boat or take anything out of your boat. All right, guys, hope it helps you guys out. We'll check in later. See you.